Yeah, we're heading into Sabbath, right? It was the day before was Friday night, Saturday. And in the past, with hurricanes, we've had to make the decision: do we have services or not? Do we? Because we don't want people driving through hazardous conditions. So we generally have to make that decision, by noon on Friday, whether we're going to shut down for the weekend, which is a traumatic decision for a religious person. To not do services on Shabbat is right a serious emergency, and so we had to make that determination, and it became pretty clear on Friday that we weren't going to be having services. That people need to stay at home. Streets are going to be flooded, and that's what we did. We stayed home for the Sabbath, and some synagogues around us. When you have a life cycle, we didn't have a life cycle. We didn't have a bat mitzvah that Shabbat. But some of the other congregations did. And so that was a more difficult decision for them, because friends and family flying in from all over the country and sometimes all around the world for the occasion. And so that's a tougher decision to cancel services. So there were some very interesting stories around the community of these just scrapping together these services for the bar mitzvah folks who were here from out of town and from other places and needed to have their bar and bat mitzvah that day. But we didn't have that issue, so we shut down for Shabbat in preparation for the storm.
How do you feel that faith played a role in leveling the emotions of your family during this hectic 48-hour time period?
I think one aspect of faith is a community of faith, and so I think that aspect was strong. I think we knew that we had resources to reach out to, even if we couldn't connect with them immediately, that eventually we'd be able to manage through this, whether we flooded or not, through the power of our faith community. And so that was always in the background as a network of safety and security. In terms of religion and God, I think the model of Noah's Ark did help me a little. Just sort of contextualize the event into religious terminology, which is this is a catastrophic moment that is unbelievable, and I suppose, yes, Noah survived the flood, and I kind of felt like Noah, and I had a Noah moment, I suppose, which is this is a temporary moment. A lot of catastrophe is happening all around. Yet I was on the second floor looking down on the floodwaters in a safe place. So even if the first floor flooded, at some point I just said, let the waters come. When I went to sleep that night, I just said, let the waters come. We're going to be safe up here on the second floor. And I felt assured that I'd done as much as I could. That was a key to my religious philosophy, that humans have agency, that we are empowered to work this world in God's image, and not to rely on God to do everything, but that we are God's agents. And so I had been satisfied that I did as much as I could, and to avoid danger and loss. And if full waters came, we'd take a financial hit on the house, but I was okay with that, given that I had done all I could do, and the rest is in God's hands. Right? After you've done all you can do, then the rest is in God's hands, but not before. Right? You have to. That my religious philosophy was enacted during that evening, that I had done all I could do, and then I was at peace as much as I could.
You mentioned how important community is. What was it like to see the outpouring of volunteers in the weeks following?
Yeah, so we organized a relief effort out of the synagogue, where we asked people to show up in the morning, and then we would organize them into teams and send them out to a home. And it was amazing. So not only was it our members, but our members brought in their friends from work, and so it was pretty incredible to see people's willingness. My kids have friends in the UOS community, in the Maryland community, that got devastated. They were there most days for the weeks following, in homes, trying to get the gunk out and do what you do to repair a home. And it was horrifying and devastating and tragic, and inspiring to see people's willingness to get in there, sometimes to their own detriment. Like, this is toxic water and manual labor, and it's hard work and it's dangerous work, and everybody got in there.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that they have almost 2,000 members.
Yeah.
And your congregation has about 600.
Mm-hmm.
So how long were you sharing facilities?
Yeah, from September, late August to January. So it was a sustained effort.
Mm-hmm.
Our high holidays are our most well-attended services, so we couldn't host them because we just didn't have that kind of space.
Mm-hmm.
So they ended up at Lakewood Church. Lakewood Church opened their doors for the high holidays, and so they used Lakewood Church for the high holidays. But they're with us for every Shabbat and festival for those 6 months, and it was a challenge, but also an honor to be in a position to help.
How do you feel that in the midst of such a horrible devastation, the Houston Jewish community has changed?
I think we've proven to ourselves very explicitly about our commitment to each other. We always sort of knew it was there, but this was concrete proof that the Jewish Community Center is an amazing central resource support system. The Jewish Federation has an ability to raise the funds necessary to help people rebuild their lives in times of trauma. So it just proved it proved the concept that we have been organizing around, that these central agencies can be an effective tool for survival and well-being. Two neighbors on either side of me were not Jewish, and I'm not sure exactly what denomination they're in, but it was leaned fundamentalist, and so when we were talking after the trauma, in the days following, while they were cleaning out the muck in their homes, and I was driving to and from synagogue, we were chatting and comforting each other, and I remarked that, look, I don't know what happened. I just, my synagogue. He asked about my synagogue. Did your synagogue flood? And I said, well, no, it didn't flood. My home didn't flood. My synagogue didn't flood. Like, I don't know what happened. And his response was, well, I know what happened. Rabbi, I think we both know what happened. Meaning that, God was looking over me and protecting me. And I was very uncomfortable with that theology. And God wasn't looking after the other people, sometimes I wish I could take the hit for some of the people that, that maybe I had more resilience than some other folks, So I was able to frame that theologically, that this isn't the people who flooded weren't personally targeted,
Mm-hmm.
right? Theologically speaking,
Mm-hmm.
and for us all to be in it together was an important theological step that I wanted to make. And that God is in the recovery. So where is God?
Mm-hmm.
God is in the recovery. And for those of us that didn't flood, to help those who did, and that's where God can be found in the resilience and in the help and in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.